Now, after an understanding about Buddhism, let us move on and understand about Jainism. One of the most famous thinkers of Jainas was Vardhamana Mahavira, and he spread his message of Jainism around 2500 years ago. He was also born into a Kshatriya family of Licchavis, which was a part of Vaji Sangha. At the age of 30, he left home and went to live in the forest. For 12 years, he had led a hard and a lonely life, and at the end, he attained enlightenment. He taught a simple philosophy or a doctrine that men and women who wished to know the truth must leave their homes. They must follow strictly the rules of ahimsa, which means not hurting or killing living beings. All beings, said Mahavira, long to live. To all things, life is dear. Ordinary people could understand the teachings of Mahavira and his followers because they used the language of the common people, which was Prakrit. There were several forms of Prakrit used in different parts of the country. For example, Prakrit spoken in Magad was known as Magadhi. Followers of Mahavira were known as Jains, and they had to live a very simple life begging for food. They had to absolutely be honest and especially were not asked to steal. Also, they had to observe celibacy, which means brahmacharya. And men had to give up everything, including their clothes. It was very difficult for most men and women to follow these rules. Nevertheless, thousands of people left their homes to learn and teach this new way of life. Many more remained behind and supported those who became monks and nuns by providing them with food, water, and important things such as medicines. Jainism was supported mainly by traders. Farmers who had to kill insects to protect their crops found it difficult to follow the rules of Jainism. Over 100 years, Jainism spread to different parts of North India and to Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. The teachings of Mahavira and his followers were transmitted orally for several centuries. They were written down in the form in which they were presently available at a place called Valabhi in Gujarat about 1500 years ago. Now let us understand what do we mean by Sangha. Students, both Mahavira and Buddha felt that those who wanted to know the true meaning of life had to leave their homes. So they arranged an association for those who left their homes. And this association was called Sangha. The rules made for the Buddhist Sangha were written down in a book, and this book is known as Vinay Pitak. From this, we know that there were separate branches for men and women. All men could join the Sangha, but children had to take permission from their parents, and slaves had to take permission from their masters to join the Sangha. Those who worked for the king had to take permission, and debtors had to take permission from the creditors. Women who wished to join the Sangha had to take permission of their husbands. Men and women who joined the Sangha led simple lives. They meditated for most of the time and went to cities and villages to beg for food during fixed hours only. That is why they were known as bhikkhus. Students, bhikkhus is a Prakrit word for beggars. They taught others and helped one another. Sometimes even quarrels took place among the bhikkhus, but they were peacefully solved within the Sangha. Those who joined the Sangha included the Brahmins, the merchants, the laborers, barbers, courtesans, and slaves. Many of them wrote down the teachings of Buddha. Some of them also composed beautiful poems describing their lives in the Sangha. Monasteries. To begin with, both Jain and Buddhist monks went from place to place throughout the year to teach people about the true meaning of life. The only time they stayed at one place was during the rainy season, when it was really difficult for them to travel. Then their supporters used to build temporary shelters for them in the gardens, and they also lived in the natural caves in hilly areas. As time went on, many supporters of the monks and nuns and they themselves felt the need for more permanent shelters, and so monasteries were built. These monasteries are known as viharas. The earliest viharas were made up of wood, and then later on they were started making of brick. Some were even in caves that were dug out in the hills, especially in Western India. Very often, the land on which the viharas was built was donated by a rich merchant or a landowner or a king. The local people came with gifts of food, clothing, medicines for monks and nuns who traveled from one place to another. In return, they taught the people. Over centuries, Buddhism spread to many parts of the subcontinent and beyond. Students, these are two examples of Buddhist monasteries, which were seen as permanent shelters, and they are also called viharas. So that was all about the explanation of the chapter. Let us have a quick look to the different questions. You all are requested to solve these questions in your book after reading the chapter and listening to the explanation. Thank you.